Now, joining us is Michael Vogelzang, President and Chief Investment Officer at Boston Advisors, where he helps manage about $1.6 billion in assets. Michael, let me ask you about, I would expect to see more action in the markets given what's going on in Egypt, especially as violence kind of breaks out. But the markets have been taking this in a very interesting stride over the last couple of days, really.
Yeah, we don't see it as a huge economic story, a huge market story for the U.S. For most U.S. investors, it's clearly impacting emerging markets. But, the biggest impact we see, of course, is the price of oil. And the question there is how high will Brent go? We added to some West Texas Intermediate probably about 7 or 8% ago. We were a little bit concerned about some commodity pressure. Of course, as we all know now, Egypt is a huge importer of wheat. That's going to have some problems and cause some potential damage there if they begin to build up their stores there. So beyond that, we don't think it's an enormous story for the U.S. economic and market picture.
All right. Hey, Michael, hang on for a second. I just want to walk everybody through the closing numbers on this Wednesday, February 2nd, Groundhog Day. Don't forget. Take a look. S&P 500, 1303 is the last trade on the S&P 500, down just about 3.7 points, down 0.3%. Keep in mind, though, we've been seeing a nice steady move up, actually, in that S&P 500 for the most part, certainly coming off of January. Dow Jones Industrial Average just up about 1.5 point. Call it unchanged, as Matt said. 12,042 is your trade there. 12,041. And the NASDAQ here at the close, 2750. That average down, really flat, just down about 1 point for the day. Well, Matt Shapiro is a money manager, trader, and president of MWS Capital. He's at the Chicago Board Options Exchange. Matt, we have been kind of obsessed, rightfully so, if you will, on that news out of Egypt, watching it very closely. Today, though, it felt like we were just kind of marking time here. Are we now? Thanks to the ADP numbers, now are we just kind of really focused on that monthly jobs report due out on Friday?
Well, it's really important, and what is most important to me is that we got back to 12,000 yesterday on that rally that really came out of nowhere. Now, my thoughts on Egypt are, despite the violence, once the market realized that it's actually a move towards democracy, and that can carry over to the other Middle Eastern countries, it's actually a very big positive. And I think we'll look back at this Egyptian events and the Egyptian crisis as a very positive thing that happened and could actually help economic growth quite dramatically over the next few years if there's a change towards democracy amongst many of these Middle Eastern countries.
Until then, though, I mean, do you overweight commodities like Michael has said that he did? I mean, you're definitely seeing the push up in commodities prices, especially oil, but also a lot of other, including soft commodities, agricultural commodities. Matt, do you agree?
I agree. It's been a great play. I mean, we bought ExxonMobil at 60 really on valuation about 6 months ago. It's touched 80. That said, there's a lot of volatility in those hot commodities contracts, and we saw that when we had the sell-off a few days ago. Some of those hot commodity names, such as Alpha Natural Resources in coal or Cliffs Natural Resources in iron ore, had really big down days, so you can get burned. They are more volatile than they have been, but I like just the general blue chip U.S.-centered investment play and get into those big oils. I think that's going to be a safer commodity play long term.
Well, Michael, I mean, we're getting through the earnings season. A few more numbers today. This reminds you that corporate America is still pretty healthy here.
Yeah, well, it's striking us as a very bipolar kind of world. We have a very strong corporate earnings numbers. Corporate profitability is great. Efficiency, productivity, everything is dynamite. And clearly, hiring is beginning to pick back up, as we talked about earlier with the ADP numbers. The problem is still on Main Street. There's an awful lot of housing issues that need to be resolved. Unemployment is still pretty close to double digits, and folks who aren't worried about corporate earnings releases every quarter are still feeling a lot of pain. And I think that's got to resolve at some point. And we think it will. We still think it's going to resolve to the upside. But at the end of the day, there's still some difficulty there. In terms of Egypt, back to that question, I'm actually quite fearful of what democracy is going to look like. I know Matt said a minute ago, could very well be a positive thing for growth and domestic growth in Egypt. But I don't think we really know yet what that's going to look like and what the outcome might be. And so I think that's really the nervousness that we have as investors, both in emerging markets, currencies, commodities, and also domestic equities.
Let me ask you, Michael, take a break for a second talking about the commodities picture and Egypt here. As far as earnings season, Does it really matter to you that much? I mean, if we beat by 75% or 75% of the companies that report beat every year, every quarter anyway, I mean, does it really only matter if they miss by a long shot?
Well, if they miss by a long shot and or talk down future numbers, that's really the concern.
It's the outlook.
Yeah, their outlook. So, I mean, Visa's an interesting one. We did a little bit of work on it beforehand. We don't own the stock. We haven't. It's been underperforming for almost a year now, 10 or 11 months. It's been sharply underperforming the market as the huge PE that it had at 24, 25 times earnings is now sort of deflated down to the 14 times number. Great growth company, really interesting earnings profile, really doing a nice job of execution. But at the end of the day, we'd like to see a little more dividend return back to shareholders, and we'd also like to see it a bit cheaper. But having even said that, until the regulatory environment around these things gets cleaned up, we're going to be watching from the sideline.
All right, guys. Hey, listen, thank you so much.